Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, welcome to the Tisa Batey Show, doing a live podcast tonight. I'm here in North Carolina, looking crazy, but I'm here in North Carolina with my girls, and we are going to do a live podcast tonight on how do you know when it's over? How do you know when it's over? How do you know when the relationship has run its course and it's over? So I'm here with my girlfriends tonight, my closest circle. Here with Chiffon Harris, here with Kelly Alicia, here with Trisha Smith. We are here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we are going to talk about tonight, how do you know when it's over? You know, sometimes we just have a hard time letting go. But tonight, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can actually, some of the key points or some of the telltale signs to let you know when it's time to just walk away. So I'm here with my girls tonight. We are socially distancing ourselves from everybody else. But we are here together loving on one another here in Raleigh, North Carolina at the home of my bestie, Kelly Alicia. And we're talking about how do you know that it's over? How do you know when it's time to just walk away from a relationship? So I'm going to ask at this time that you go ahead and share this podcast with everybody you know. Everybody that you know will benefit from the information that we have to share tonight. Because we're coming, let's face it now, we're coming from a female perspective, and we're coming from an experienced female perspective of how you know that it's time to just walk away. So I'm going to join my girls over here tonight, and we're going to talk about, no pressure, just dialogue. You know, there's no pressure, there's just dialogue. How do you know when it's time to just walk away? And I mean, this let's just face it.
There's some signs.
Yeah, there's some telltale signs. And so, yeah, we're just going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to go ahead tonight and tag some people. And I want you guys to go ahead and tag people that you know. And we're just going to have some dialogue. Let's just face it. This is the best time to, you know, what better time to talk about the issues than tonight? And now I'm wondering why I am logged onto your phone. I'm wondering why I'm wondering why I'm not able to see all the comments and from your phone. But we're not even going to worry about that tonight. If I have to walk up to the phone and see the comments, I'll just walk up to the phone and see the comments. But let's just talk about it. This is
gonna be deep now. I'm just saying.
This is a real deep topic.
Yeah.
Right, ladies.
Very much so.
Right. Why is it so deep? Why do we feel like it's so deep?
I think it's deep because of the fact that you know it's the end. You know what it is.
And it being the end, like I think that when we're younger, thank you so much, Trisha. When we're younger and when we're in our tender teens or our tantalizing 20s, it's easier for us to walk away. But when you have a little bit of experience behind you, and why does it become harder for us to walk away? So let's just talk about, let's talk about first of all, why it's so difficult to walk away. And then let's enlighten our viewers on when it's time to walk away. Can we do that, ladies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. Why is it so hard for us to walk away sometimes?
I think the more mature that we become, we start looking and analyzing things in our life, and we feel like we've invested a lot of time. So when you invest time in a relationship, you may say, okay, I can still work on this, or I can still change this, or let me keep focusing on this. But the reality is, you can't change another person.
Ooh, that's good.
Now,
That's
can a
really
person
good.
change? Absolutely. But you can't change another person. So, prayer. When you're in a difficult situation or difficult relationship, focus on you. Pray for you. Just focus on you. Lord, whatever I am not holding or in your eyes, please fix that for me. Don't worry about your partner. Just worry about you.
Are those some of the steps that you took before? Because this is coming from someone she is in a happy marriage, happy home, and I was telling her, my closest friend, I was telling her, I said, the energy in your home is so incredibly positive and motivating and uplifting. Like, when you come into your home, you feel peace and happiness.
Love.
And love. So are these some things that you did prior to getting married, prior to meeting? What steps did you take to actually embark upon where you are now?
No, I think just having patience and being still and looking at the signs. I think a lot of times, too many people, we just don't look at the signs. The signs are there, but we think, well, I'm all this and I'm great, so I'm going to work on this person. And I don't care what you do, you cannot change that person.
You can't change
Whether it's
that person.
backflips, whatever, you cannot change. So I think it definitely starts with there and just the knowing, but you have to be still. You have to be still in order to know what you truly want, what's good for you and your family. And if you have kids, a whole other topic. If you have kids, like, you dating someone in your 30s and 50s is completely different. Your children, who may be young children or preteen, that's different from when they're growing on their own.
Right.
You may look for different things. So
that's very
being
very
patient and being still, I think, are the two biggest things. But the signs are there. Like, that's a whole other topic. The signs are there, and we feel like we can change people, and you can't.
And you just can't.
You can't change
That's
people.
very true.
That's very good. That's very, very good. I've always said this, and this still stands true today. We can't even change. I don't even feel like we can change ourselves without divine intervention. Like, there are things about ourselves that we would like to change or do differently. We can't even do that without divine intervention. So how in the world do you think you're going to change somebody else? Like, for real, for real. Like, you have to focus on being the best person that you can be. You know what I'm saying? And then you position yourself to be ready to receive what God has for you. Chiffon, what do you say about why it's so hard for us to let go?
I think sometimes it's hard to let go because you've invested so much. When you invested that time, I mean, the emotions, the involving them with your kids, your family, all that, you just get wrapped up in the fact that, okay, if I invested all this time, why now walk away?
Right.
Making it better for the next person.
Yes. And the last thing you want to do is set them up for the next person, you know what I mean? Which actually could be his best person. Once you get to that stage to be able to say, I can let go. But I would say this. The hardest thing is to say, I know when it's time to walk away. You got to be real with yourself. No matter how close he is to you, your family, whatever you invested in. I don't care if it's finance, it's mental, physical, whatever the emotion is. When you know it's time to walk away, it's time to walk away when you can see that person with another person.
And it doesn't bother you.
And it doesn't bother you. Then you know it's time to walk away.
That is so like, that's real good. That's real good. And I'm going to tell you why I know that's real good.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you why I know that what you're saying is factual. Because when I was married, and I use this as a reference point a lot of times in my podcasts, but when I was married for 14 years, and I was just, you know, going in, I was so head over heels in love with this person. Like, he was just my everything. Mistake number one. But he was my everything. And as time went on, the more my heart would harden. Like if there was something that he would do and it would, you know, offend me or hurt me, my heart would harden a little bit more. And then if there was something else, my heart would harden a little bit more. And then my heart would harden a little bit more. Until at the end of this 14-year marriage, I have to be honest with you and say, I really didn't care one way or the other what he was doing. Like, it was no longer of any importance or relevance to me. It didn't matter to me one way or the other. Like,
Yeah.
and when you reach that point where you just no longer can, even if it was, there was no longer that jealousy factor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Oh, you know it then. You
The,
know.
the jealousy factor
know
was
it
gone.
then.
Like, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so what if you were out last night with somebody else? It really doesn't matter to me. I really don't care. All I want is out and peace.
Yes.
And for me, that's when I knew, okay, it's time to let go. And to piggyback on what you said, Chiffon, you said, we don't want to walk away because we've invested so much time in this relationship. So it's like, you know, as women, we not only are we nurturers, but we're fixers. Or at least we fashion ourselves to be fixers. So we feel like we can fix stuff that we can't necessarily always fix. So when you invest all these years with this man, we're fixing him while we're with him, because that's just what we feel like we can do. So it's like, do I want to, we feel like we're almost at the end of our fixing him. Like he's almost fixed. Not quite there, but he's almost fixed. And do I want to walk away from my fixations and allow some other woman to reap all the benefits of the time that I've invested in fixing him?
I think once we come to the realization that it doesn't have to be hard, it should be easy. Like any relationship, right? You're in, it shouldn't be hard. So if you feel like it's a constant struggle, that really should be a sign, but often it's not.
That's good.
It shouldn't be. And I gave we were talking earlier, and I gave the example when you said, well, what's some signs? A sign is when you are coming home from work or just being out, and you drive up to your house and you don't want to get out the car.
Ooh! Woo! How many times? How many times have we experienced that?
Or you say like, oh, let me just sit here for a second.
Let me just sit here for a second and digress before I go in here.
Into your own home. You can't even go into your own home. That's supposed to be your peace. So
your place of sanctuary, your solace. And when you drive up and you say, Lord, let me just digress for a moment. I don't even feel like going in here.
That's so true.
I mean, how many times has that happened to not only us? If we have experienced that, how many of y'all have really experienced that to where you say, you know what?
Well, sit in the car and say a prayer. Let me just pray real quick before I go in.
Let me just pray real quick before I go in here, because I know what it's getting ready to be.
Absolutely.
Like, that's really good. That's really, really good. Trisha, do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, she got a lot to say.
Trisha, do you have anything that you can offer to this conversation? I mean, you know, and let me just say this about this circle of women here. We have all experienced at least one divorce. Or let me correct that. I've experienced divorce. Kelly has experienced one divorce. Chiffon has experienced one divorce. And Trisha, and Trisha has also experienced one divorce. So we have all experienced at least one divorce. So we're not telling you what we've heard. We're telling you what we know. This is all coming from a very, very real and genuine perspective. And if we can help anybody, then certainly we're willing to do that. So Trisha, you know, from your first marriage, when did you know it was time? I mean, when did you know it was time to walk away?
Well, I didn't know exactly it was time to walk away at that point, but from being left, from moving from one state to the other, and I know that he left me by myself, that was it. That was when it's time, okay. It's
So
time
he
to
just
go.
up and left you.
Up and left. So now at this point in my life, and just like you said, you know, we always know when it's time to leave, it's time to go. And as women, we always trying to fix things.
We always
trying to fix it. Always trying to fix it. You want to keep your family
Absolutely.
together.
Yeah.
You know, it's like mom and dad, you're supposed to stay together. Always trying to
But
fix
kids
that.
see it. Kids tension that.
And kids see
So
it.
I don't
exactly.
know why in the world we sit up there and say, but we gotta stay married.
We gotta stay
the kids
together.
already know
We
you're
gotta
not
stay
happy.
together for the kids, and
Right.
we're making the kids miserable because they see that dysfunction, and they see, you know, that there's no love that's. I mean, kids need to know that things are supposed to be normal and healthy and happy and functional. So this is what I said when I divorced my husband. I said to my kids, because we would argue. I didn't want to argue in front of the kids, but you know, sometimes it would just happen. And in my book, what I said was, and my book is This Is How Saved People Sin, the memoirs of a saved girl, plug. But in my book, I said, you know, we would argue, and I would feel horrible about that. I really would. But obviously, our need to tear each other down was greater than our need to provide a healthy environment for our children. That's a horrible place to be in. You know it's time to leave when, as much as mothers love their children, like if you can't provide for them a healthy, a happy, a stable environment, if your need to argue and to bicker and to tear each other down is greater than your need to provide the love for them that they so deserve and desire, it's time to walk away.
Absolutely.
It's time to go. Like, they deserve so much better than that. They really do. And one morning when I woke up out of the blue, I asked myself, I was feeling some kind of way because we had just had an argument the day before, and everybody on the outside was telling us how good we looked and how we should be on the front of a magazine and how we, you know, and you hear all this stuff and it starts to sort of permeate in you and you start to believe that stuff. But I was dying on the inside. It didn't matter how we looked to the world. I was dying on the inside, like for real. But I didn't want people to know. And this is something I struggle with even still to this day, and I'm transparent enough to say it. Pride still plays a huge part in the decisions I make. Like, there are still decisions I make and have made in just the recent past to where if I didn't allow pride to set in, the outcome would have been completely different. But pride so fuels a lot of our decisions, and I was thinking, I can't let people see that I failed in this marriage. Like, I was too proud to let people know I wasn't happy. So many people go through that.
Absolutely.
Right. But let me ask this: do you feel like both parties can feel the same way, and they just don't know how to communicate to each other?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just be living in the moment and just not knowing.
A lot of people can do that. Like, they just don't know how to communicate to each other. Now, he was more of I can say this, he was more of a communicator in the relationship than I was. He would always say, you know, Tisa, you just want to sweep everything under the rug because you don't want to deal with the issues. Because I didn't want to, you know, once we argued and I was willing to say, okay, I forgive you, even though really I wasn't in a forgiving state of mind. I would say I forgive you, but I didn't really want to talk about it any deeper. I didn't really want to, and he was the one who wanted to talk about it and get to the bottom. And I was like, listen, we already said I'm sorry, I forgive you. Let's just move on. And he was like, you're sweeping things under the rug. Like, you keep sweeping things under the rug thinking they're going to get better, and they're not. And to this day, I can look back and say he was absolutely right. I didn't want to talk about it. I was just, and I think that came from a point of me being disconnected. Like, I was so disconnected that I was just like, it's not important enough. The relationship is no longer important enough for me to talk about it. So let's just do what we have to do to keep up this facade to everybody else that we're okay. Let me just sweep it under the rug and go on. But all that did was just create more bitterness, more tension, more hostility, more hatred in my heart, and it made me a really, really bitter person. And I look back today and I'm like, wow, what if I had listened to some of the things that he was saying? I was closed off then, but what if I had just taken the time to listen? What would my life look like now? And it's a woulda, shoulda, coulda. But what would happen if you actually talk about this stuff? So yeah, to your point, yeah, there are times that both of you guys can be feeling the same thing and just not know how to accurately or effectively communicate that to each other. So when does it get to the point where, and I remember this. I remember, when I was going through my divorce, when I had filed for divorce, I remember a close girlfriend of mine. She was a radio DJ in Atlanta, and she called my bishop on the phone and got in touch with my bishop and told my bishop, I don't want this to happen, but Tisa is getting ready to get divorced, and if you can help her in any way, she's not open to counseling, but if you can help her in any way, I wish that you would, because I think they're a lovely couple. And so what my bishop did was, my bishop in turn, because I was in the choir, he talked to his wife, who was the first lady and the minister of music, and he said, I need you to talk to Tisa Walker. She's getting ready to go through a divorce, yada, yada, yada. And she called me and she said, I've heard that you're going through a divorce and I want to know if we can help you. But my heart was so hard, and I said, absolutely not. I appreciate what you're trying to do and I appreciate the gesture, but my mind is made up and I don't want to salvage the relationship. I'm done. I'm done. That's how closed off I was. Because I felt like I knew that I knew that I knew it was over and it was time to move on. So that begs the question, when do you know that it's time to move on? When do you know?
Okay, let me ask you this question. As women, as Chiffon mentioned that, we always say we have invested so much into a relationship.
Yeah.
How do we know when it's time for us to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take me as example. Been married for 20-some years, and now I'm in the process of saying, okay, I feel like I've been invested in for so long. So when is it time for me to say, Trisha, let it go?
Please allow me. And I'm going to impart my words of wisdom with you because I know you. I know you very well, and I know the type of woman you are, and I know that you are a wonderful woman. I know that you have been that Proverbs wife, and you have been faithful, and you've been loyal, and I know what you deserve. And I'm going to say this, and you guys can chime in because she's our friend, and you guys all know the situation. But I feel like when the situation or when the relationship turns to complete and total one-sidedness, when you're the only one who's trying to make the relationship work, when the respect factor is no longer there, you can't force someone to love you. You just can't. When they show you who they are, it is now your obligation to believe them. A lot of times we want people to be who we want them to be, but when they show you who they are and how they feel about you, whether it's a lack of respect or whatever, or lack of presence, when they show you that, you have to be emotionally intelligent enough to recognize it, to see it for what it is, and to move on. If they're showing you that they want the relationship, they're doing what they need to do to make the relationship work, if you're seeing that they're meeting you halfway, okay, then that's something you want to say, okay, I've invested all this time in, I need to try to make it work. If you see an absence of that, where they are not doing that and they're doing everything completely adverse to that, when there's no respect, when there's a lack of presence physically and emotionally, when there's infidelity, whatever it is, when they're showing you that and they're showing you that they have no intentions or no desire to make the relationship work, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. You don't deserve to be humiliated and embarrassed and hurt over and over and over and over again. That's my opinion, but I'm going to give way to Kelly and Chiffon, because Kelly has known you, I've known you for a long time. I love you. You are my girl, my right. And Kelly has known you even longer than I have.
Yeah. My thing is this, growth is the key. And that's when I said you have to focus on yourself, because the 20-year-old you, the 30-year-old you, the 40-year-old you is not the same as you are today. So you change, you grow. Your wants are different.
Evolve, yeah.
You evolve. All that has changed. You matured into that, and then the things that you might have wanted at your 20s might not be the same that you want at your 40s and 50s.
Right.
And
So
you
true.
and you have to evolve in that, and you have to say, you know what? I'm focusing so much on the other person.
Yeah.
You've lost yourself.
Yeah.
You got to bring yourself back. You got to. People have to start loving their self again.
Yeah. So true.
We spend so much time trying to please the other.
Wow.
Trying to, hold up this thing about the other person. We've lost ourselves.
Wow.
And it's like, what was that movie? It was a movie, and what was that movie? And was it Coming to America? And he said, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "Whatever you like to do."
Whatever you like.
Whatever you like.
Whatever you like.
Like, you've lost yourself, so
Yeah.
you have to kind of go back to like, what makes me happy? What do I like? And then once that's desirable for them, and I'm not saying whether it works or not, but sometimes in relationships, when we're trying to put the blame on the other person, and we lose of ourselves, and we're so focused on them, they're no longer interested, because they're saying, okay, who are you?
Right.
You've lost yourself.
Right.
But when you start getting yourself back, right, your interests, what you like to do and all that, they start looking at you saying, okay, this is the person who I fell in love with.
When you regain your voice.
Yeah.
When you regain your voice. When you
Yeah.
lose your voice and you lose yourself in trying to love somebody else, it's no longer attractive to them.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I just think we put way too much energy and time in trying to figure out what's going on with them, and we're losing ourselves. And you're
Absolutely.
losing your own self-worth, you're losing your own self. And what happens is, if you have children, people who have children, your children see that.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
children look, and you think about it, children won't say a word, but children see it, and they're looking at you. Now, as a woman, right, as a woman, they're looking like, wow, like, okay, what does my mommy really want? Like, okay, this is not right. Like, they might not know the term, this is not right. And I can't believe she's taking
Right.
all this stuff.
I can't
and you're
believe
teaching
my
them.
mom- I
So
cannot-
you're putting your
teaching your
platform
children.
that this is what you should expect, because this is what I'm doing.
That's very, very good. You're teaching your children.
Absolutely. Which
what-
is so unhealthy.
Yeah, it's very, very, it's very dysfunctional. Do you have anything to add to that, Chiffon?
I would also say is when you get to that point when you realize that you have given everything you got and you have nothing else to give.
Wow.
When you tanked out, like you want empty. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I have nothing else to give to this situation. And it's time to just call it quits, move on. Because you can't fix someone. They have to fix themselves.
Wow.
And no
That's
matter
good.
how much of love you give them, encouragement you give them, how strong you can be for them, how much you want to fight for them. If they're damaged, the only way they get past that is to help their self. You know what I mean? And you accept that and realize no matter what I give this person, they are who they are. They have to fix them.
They gotta fix them.
Yes, because I can't make you happy. I can help your happiness, but I can't make you happy.
Exactly. I can add to it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you have to bring, and I'm glad you said that. You have to bring your happiness to the relationship.
Yes.
Like, you can't depend on anybody to make you happy. You got to bring that. Like, that's a prerequisite. Like, you know, when you go to college, you got your core classes that are called your prerequisite classes that you have to take. Those are called requirement classes. There's no if, ands, or buts. There's no getting around that. Just like a relationship, you got to bring those prerequisites to the relationship. Happiness is one of them. You got to be happy within yourself when you embark upon a relationship. If you're miserable, depressed, dysfunctional, downtrodden, unhappy, and you go into a relationship, guess what? You take all of those elements to that relationship.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to find a way in yourself to love yourself enough to be happy with whom you are, with who you are. You've got, even if you got to fake it till you make it, if you got to get in that mirror every single morning and look at yourself and say, you got to find something about yourself every day that you love.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that can be a little awkward and a little hard for people because they're not used to doing that. They're used to beating themselves up and they're used to focusing on what they don't have or what they don't bring to the relationship. So every morning when you look in the mirror to wash your face or brush your teeth or whatever, you need to take time and you need to look in that mirror and you need to find something every day about yourself that you love. I don't care how minuscule it may seem. I don't care how juvenile it may seem. I don't care how silly it may seem to you. Even if you say, you know what? I love the way my eyebrows are shaped. I know how silly that seems. You know what I'm saying? In the grand scheme of things, that seems real silly. But start there if you don't have nothing else to go on.
Absolutely.
Start somewhere. If you say, I love the way my nose is shaped, like, I love the way my face looks, or I love the features, I love my high cheekbones, or I love the fact that I have curly hair, or I love the fact that I have kinky hair. Find something every day about yourself that you love and love on that. Make that a reason to love yourself, because what I will tell you is this: we are all so imperfect. We all make such horrible decisions from time to time. It's called human nature. It's called like we will never graduate from sinning. We will never graduate from making bad decisions or bad choices from time to time. My mom taught me that a long time ago. Like, I don't care how many degrees you have.
That's right.
You will never graduate from mistakes, from making mistakes and bad decisions.
Yeah.
I'm a living witness of that. At 49 years old, I am a living witness of that. And we look back and we can choose to beat ourselves up for things that we did, or we can choose to love ourselves and forgive ourselves regardless. So before you realize that it's time to walk away from a relationship, because you're not going to walk away from a relationship if you feel like it's damaging and you deserve it. Right?
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah, so you're going to have to love yourself enough to know that you deserve something better.
But the disconnect comes far on, way on before it's say, okay, we're divorcing or we're separated. Those feelings just didn't come up overnight. Like, this is something that you felt.
It's a build-up.
Yeah, it's a build-up for years or whatever it is. And each little incident adds on to that. And each little incident, like, okay, so now we're making up. Okay, we're going to work this out. Yeah, and then something comes up. But at some point, something clicks. And you don't have to reach out to your girlfriends. You don't have to reach out to your church.
You don't need
have
no
to reach out.
affirmation.
Yeah, you're just like,
Ain't
you know
no
what?
question.
I don't care what
That's
y'all
so
say.
true.
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done. And you said, okay, so how do you know when you're done? When you start doing your escape plan, when you start looking at
Absolutely.
your funds, and you start saying, okay, let me see how much I have in my fund. Okay, this is how we're going to do this, and you start planning your future,
Your strategy.
escape. You start doing.
That is so good. Oh my gosh, that is so
That's
good.
how you
So
know.
true.
when
And
you're
the
done.
reason I say that's so good is because, like, I can just talk about, like, you know, like this circle right here, like we Marco Polo each other on almost a daily basis. And we leverage each other's strength. We value each other's advice. Like if we're at a low point, we leverage each other and the opinions of each other in this relationship to validate us or to not validate us. But sometimes, but when we choose not to do that,
No, we real. We ready.
We know.
You bout it.
as
You
long
got
as,
it, man.
as long as we're seeking the opinions and the advice
There's hope.
of others,
There's hope.
there's still hope in the
There's still hope.
situation. And we're still saying,
Absolutely.
we're
That is
still
so
saying,
true.
yeah, we're still saying there's still a chance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call my girl and see what my girl thinks about this because there's still a chance. But when we stop doing that,
Oh
and when we start making our decisions on our own, it's over. It's all.
It's
It's
a wrap.
over. It's a wrap, and it's.
So
it's
wait,
time
so
to
you
move
bring
on.
it to the table and say, this is what I've done.
Yeah, and
We
then
like, what?
and then we
Why
say,
didn't you
okay,
let us
girls,
know?
this is
There
what
was
I've
no
done.
need for you to chime in. The decision is
Yeah.
made.
Right. I'm telling you, that's how we roll. That's how we roll. So
Wow.
right now, I'm gonna get
That's
some
fine.
comments of because we've got a few comments from the people. Jennifer Rhines, hey Jennifer, I love you, Jennifer. That's my sis. She says she's having a hard time. She said she just left a situation yesterday.
Wow.
And I know that that's hard for you. I get it. But you know what you deserve, and you know if it wasn't right. Dysfunction can only last for so long if you really seek a healthy body, a healthy spirit. Dysfunction only has a place for so long. Like, we've all experienced dysfunctional relationships. We all have. And I come from a very, very close, strong, dominant, powerful family. But guess what? We experienced dysfunction just like everybody else. We were not exempt from that. So, as hard as it may be for you, Jennifer, right now, guess what? You will get through it. If you keep every day, if you get up every morning and keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward, guess what? It gets easier. And not only in relationships, but in anything that you're going through. If you make the decision that you're not going to lay down and die, but you are going to get up every day, dust yourself off, forgive yourself or whatever you did, and keep moving forward, guess what? You are going to survive, and you are going to be all the better for it. So, my hats off to you, sister. I've been there, done that. I get it. Mary Freeman says, "Hey, Tisa, good to see you." It's good to see you too, Mary Freeman. Jennifer says, "God gives you that intuition." He absolutely does, and I don't know if he just gives it to women. I mean, I'm sure there.
We just gotta listen. That's the first.
I'm sure there are men out there who have that sixth sense, but I do believe that. Okay, so here's my philosophy, and this is just the way I feel. I feel like, God made man, he made woman. He made man. Men have innately a very canine, doggish, if you will, visually stimulating or driving factor in them that causes them to maybe be unfaithful more so than women.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not, that's just the way it is. Men really have that. That's in them much more than it is in women. And I feel like for that reason, God, who loves us so much and cares about us so much, I feel like that's the reason why he gave women this sixth sense. This sense. And what that sixth sense is the spirit of discernment. It's your intuition. Like I've heard Tyler Perry say it in his movies many times, like, how do you know your man is cheating on you? Do you feel like he's cheating on you? Yeah. Well, that's how you know.
That's how you know.
That's how you know. If you feel like it 9 times out of 10, it's probably happening. And so I feel like that's why God blessed us women with the sixth sense. And I listen to my inner man so much now, so that I'm like, I can BS, I can sense it 10 miles away, and I'm like this. Take it somewhere else, because I'm not interested. So I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're going through. I'm praying for you, and I know that God is going to show up and show out for you miraculously. Who else? There are a lot of... Keisha Boyd Love says, when you're a loser of it, and he doesn't try to change, that's when it's time to let go.
Say that again.
Yes.
Keisha, come on, wait a minute.
Come on, Keisha.
Come on through, Keisha.
Yeah.
Come on through. Keisha Boyd Love says, when you are losing yourself and you are aware of it, like when you know you're losing yourself, and he doesn't try to change, that's when it's time to let go.
Time to go. Yeah. Time to keep moving. There's no question.
That's very, very good.
There's no way as a human being you can give that much of yourself and someone is not giving it to you back and be satisfied. You can't. There's no way. I feel you, girl. Totally feel you. Time to go.
It's time to go. It's time to go. You know, you got to love yourself first. And a lot of people feel like it's wrong for them to love themselves first. A lot of people feel like that's selfish.
That's selfish, yes.
Like,
which is not.
It's not selfish. It's just not selfish.
Even God say, I'm a selfish God.
Well, God says, hey, I will have no other God before me. I'm a jealous God. I will have no.
Absolutely.
But you're like if you don't love yourself first, really, what do you have to offer to anybody else? If you don't come whole to a relationship, what do you really have to offer? You got 50% to offer. I
don't want 50.
That ain't good enough.
I don't want 50. 50's not good enough.
Yeah, these are the same. These are the right. These are the same women who have teased me over the years about being too picky and but they know me. They know how I am and they know who I am, and they get it. Like, they might tease me about being too picky, but you can't come to me. You can't come to me with 25%. You can't come to me with 50%. You can't come to me with 75%. If you ain't giving me everything you got, and men will often ask, like, what do you expect from me? I expect everything you have to offer and nothing less. And if I have to accept less than what you have to offer, I don't want it. And I'm not saying that you don't have to compromise in relationships, because I know that there's a compromising factor. I know that sometimes you have to settle for somebody's imperfections, but I don't want anybody who knowingly gives me less than what I deserve.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, and this is off topic, not off topic, but this is shifting it up. You know when it's time to go, when you start making your plan and you start feeling happy.
Feeling good.
About it.
You start feeling like, hey,
well, I got this house to myself. I have peace.
You have
peace.
You have peace.
I have peace.
When you know that it's time, you have such a peace.
When you go in the house and flashing music and you may start
prepping.
You might even be butt naked, walk around, doing what you do. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Feeling good about it.
But you loving the moment. You loving the person that you become. You're not accepting that.
You love
no
it.
question.
And people would ask me, like, when I got divorced, did you, like, how many nights did you cry yourself to sleep? And I was like,
Good.
I was done by then.
I was like crying myself to sleep. Child, I was ready to throw a party.
Yes.
Now, and I'm not taking anything away from my ex. I'm not.
Absolutely.
He blessed me. God allowed him to bless me with 2 beautiful children.
Amen.
And I wouldn't trade anything from my experience. But I was so at peace when it was time to go. Like, there was no crying myself to sleep. There was no, second guessing my decision. I was ready to go.
And I'm, and that's my thing, and I say it all the time. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. And there are a lot of couples out there that have moved on and have found their true love and they're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm looking
my
forward
ex
to
is
that
happy,
again.
I'm
Yeah.
happy. Like, and it's a good thing.
Yes.
We're good co-parenting, so everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's hard. It's definitely hard when you're going through it, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely hard, and it takes time to
Yeah.
get past it.
Yeah.
But I promise you, once you get past all of that, it's so much. It's so much more.
And and I was just telling you that, like, the peace that and I'm so happy for my girl, because I was with her through the trenches. I was with her before there was a husband or whatever. And just seeing how God has blessed her because of her faithfulness, because of her heart, because of her spirit, like, just to see where God has brought you from to where he has delivered you to. Like, when you walk in your house, there is such a feeling of just peace.
Crazy.
And just happiness. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, there's a bit of craziness in this month. But you know what? That's where you deserve that. You deserved that. And you waited on what God had for you. But you had to make sure that you were clear of any other situations before, because God ain't getting ready to be the author of confusion. He's not getting ready to bless you with your Boaz or whoever you're waiting for, as long as you tied up with somebody else.
Right.
So you got to find a way to get over all that junk.
Yeah. Okay. Get over. Say it again. Get over.
You got to find a way to get over all that junk, and you have to know that you deserve better, and then you have to expect it.
The other thing
Absolutely.
is about moving on too, which is the good part, is when you put that music on and it's love songs and you ain't think about him no more.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
That's another
You
way.
be like, oh wow, yeah, that spark will
That
come
feels
back.
pretty
You
good.
start feeling a little different, and you be
Wow.
on the next without even And I'm not. This is not about cheating or anything. I'm just saying the feeling inside is like, I can move on.
Right.
I can get over this. It's time to move on. But the happiness inside come back because you done been drained for so long. So it's like that happiness just comes back and you start living. And you ready for that one night by yourself of peace when you wake up in the morning and he ain't there no more and you just good.
You're good.
It's a different life.
And then you start
It's
feeling
different.
like, okay, if he, so what that I've invested all this time.
Yeah.
I've trained him for all this time. Yeah.
That's fine.
We did say that. I did say
Yeah.
trained
Train.
him.
You say
So
train?
I've trained him and schooled him all this time, and it no longer matters
Absolutely.
if another woman is reaping all those benefits. Oh, we got our Lindsay.
Yes.
Y'all, look, this is my niece.
This is the young blood.
This is a young blood. This is a millennial, but or she's Generation Z.
I'm in between.
No,
Yeah.
you're Generation Z.
I'm in between.
This is.
I don't go by Lake.
Let me just and let me take, because my mother always said it's important to give people their flowers while
Yes.
they live.
Absolutely.
Let me tell y'all something about my niece right here, and this is Kelly's daughter. She has graduated from Georgia State University. Summa cum laude, top of her class at Georgia State, and neuroscience, neuroscience degree. And not only did she do that, but she has landed, because of her faithfulness, her diligence, her scholastics. She has landed. Not only that, she's got a degree, she's got a scholarship for her master's and doctorates from Emory University $100,000 tuition absolutely free.
That's right.
Give it up.
We ain't bragging. We just saying. We ain't bragging.
I ain't bragging. I ain't bragging. I'm just saying that's something to be applauded. $100,000 tuition
Yes,
she has
honey.
got free. And so I'm just
That's
proud
baby
of
girl.
her. That's my baby.
Yes.
I'm proud of her, and I just think that she deserves to be applauded. So
Right.
all my viewers, y'all give it up. Y'all give it up for my girl, Lindsay.
Yes.
Woo! Okay, so Lindsay, coming from a younger perspective, when do you think it's time to let go of a relationship and move on?
I have never been in a relationship, so I do not know.
Yeah.
Moving right along. Okay. Moving right along. I am going to read some of the other comments that we have. We've got Hey guys, we look crazy. I know. Don't look at the way we look tonight. It's all right.
My niece is a true side.
We're all good, but we're so proud of her. There are a lot of comments, a lot of people on, and I want to read some more of the comments if I can. Let me see here. They're over there talking. I don't know what they're talking about. But this is a really, really good topic tonight. And I think that a lot of people need to know what we're talking about tonight. That's Keisha Boyd's comment. I already read that. Keisha Boyd also says, that is the key. The key to this is loving yourself. And I think that that's where we miss the mark. When you find yourself, beware, because it will throw the man off. And that's what we were talking about. Like, men are not attracted to a woman who has lost herself in trying to love him. I firmly believe in putting God first in all that you do. Are y'all having y'all's own side conversation? Okay. I believe it's important to put God first in all that you do. Put God first in your relationship. Put him first. If you put him first, you really can't go wrong. If you put him first, you won't lose yourself in loving someone else. Demario Richards says, I love it. Thank you, Demario Richards. I appreciate that comment. Let me see.
Can I say that I have not been in a relationship because I have been working so hard on loving myself, and I have such an internal sense of self-love that I don't really going out there searching for that other type of.
I love it. I love it.
Somebody say amen.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all wrong with loving because you got to do that first.
Yeah.
And as long as that's the foundation, and that's how you're building on, you'll never go wrong. You love yourself first, and so therefore you have something to add or to bring to another relationship. That's the way to go. But so many people don't do it that way. So many people look for people to validate them or affirm them, and they don't love themselves without someone else's affirmation. So I think that that's an awesome way. Angie Childress says, hello, ladies. Hey, Angie. We got a whole lot of watchers on. Melinda Buttram says, say it, Tisa Batey, walk away. You know I'm going to say it. You know I'm going to say it. Keisha says, congratulations, Kelly's daughter. Absolutely, congratulations. So we just want to, we just want to impart some words of wisdom. Upon all our viewers tonight. The hope that we would all have for everybody, for all relationships, is that the relationships would thrive and that they would be successful and happy and, all that. That's what we would all hope for anybody. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it always happens. And the reason I wanted to do this podcast tonight is because there are, we just been having girl talk, which is what we do. Mm-hmm. And there are times when it's just time to walk away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's I mean, let's just face it. Sometimes it's just really hard. Sometimes we just stay beyond the expiration date. My bishop always said.
Stay beyond the expiration
Yeah,
date.
Bishop Dale C. Bronner says that there are things that have expiration dates, and just no different from a carton of milk that you have in your your refrigerator. If you keep that carton of milk beyond the expiration date, what happens? It goes sour and then it
becomes
starts.
weightless.
And it smells.
It starts to stink, right?
And if you try to consume it, it's going to make you sick.
Absolutely. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. It's gonna make you
If
sick.
you stay in something beyond the expiration date,
It's going to make you sick.
it's going to make you sick,
You can't
and
consume it.
and it really starts to stink.
You got to throw it out.
You got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of it. Some relationships have an expiration date. And even though we don't like to necessarily think that way, that's just the way it is.
And this may be a whole other podcast, but you know you moved on and you know you're doing well when your ex reaches out to you and you're not phased,
At all.
but now they know that you're happy. So now what they're trying to do is get back in your life.
Ooh. Ain't that something?
Yeah, and that happens.
Ain't that
That's gonna happen.
Every time.
That's gonna happen.
Think it don't happen when it does.
Every time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ron Robinson says, so I'll play devil's advocate and just throw this out there for some men that may want to say this. There are quite a few men that are in this situation, but men don't get the support for walking away. That's what he says. Men don't get the support for walking away. Hold on, let me pick it up. They don't get the support for walking away like women. Like brothers walking away is as if, Joker, you gave up on your family. You're supposed to be the man. Okay, well, okay, so this.
But we can't be double standard. I mean, that is very valid.
It's very valid.
And
No double standards.
Yeah, no double standards, and it's valid. And if you know, it's the same way. If men are unhappy, they need to move on.
Absolutely. If a man is unhappy, let's just face it. If a man is unhappy and you've tried all that you can do, and you've done all you can do, and you've sought the face of God, and you've prayed about it. I mean, come on now. I know some women can be hellions. Come on, let's just face it. I'm not a feminist here. I'm not one who is saying that women are always right and men are always wrong. I'm not doing that. So this transcends gender.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this transcends gender.
What do you say, David?
If you're not happy,
Right,
and you're
that's
not fulfilled, and you're in a relationship that is dysfunctional and is not in the best interest of you, your family, your children, then at some point you have to make the decision to walk away. I would never be a woman who says you're wrong for walking away when you walk away for the right decision.
So I'm gonna
The right
piggyback
reason.
off of Tisa. My comments wasn't based on gender. It was just based solely on anybody.
Yeah.
If you've had enough and you've given everything you got, I don't care if it's male, female, whatever, what sex you like, whatever it is, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Happiness is more important than anything. A peace of mind is more important than anything else.
Yeah.
So it is not based on gender whatsoever. If it's time for you to go and your heart says it's time for you to go because you can't love any different than what you're loving at that point, then let's move it on.
Let's just keep it moving. She's absolutely right. Latoya Hawkins Dallas says, yes, there are expiration dates for people in your life. You can give up on your spouse, but you don't have to give up on your children.
Yes.
I mean, and that's it. I mean, a lot of people are really fooling themselves when they say, I'm staying married because of the children.
Yeah, the kid's been checked out. You're the one that's holding on.
And
The kid's been done, son.
And they're very resilient.
That's so true.
Kids are very resilient.
Done, son.
They have been blessed with this innate ability to just bounce back. God instills that in them. So kids are very resilient, and you think that you're staying together for their well-being when in all actuality what you're doing is you're damaging them.
And no question.
I would rather, and when I made the decision to get divorced, my youngest was 6, my oldest was 12 and a half, almost 13. And what I told them was, and what I told them then still stands true today, and they can verify it. I said, as long as you live, you will never have to be in a position again where you see your mommy arguing with another man in a relationship. I won't ever subject you guys to that again, ever. Because it was more important for me to show them that even if mommy and daddy weren't together, a home should be filled with peace and love. Yeah, that's the norm. The norm is not to have parents who argue and who can't get along. Even if you don't agree on things as parents, you should be mature enough to disagree agreeably. You should be mature enough to just agree to disagree. It shouldn't have to be the back and forth. So that was a promise I made to my kids, and I have kept it to this day. They have never seen me argue with another man outside their father.
But I will say this, and this is, I can't say this loud enough. I don't care what the situation is. Never speak bad, ill will towards your spouse, ex-spouse, whatever.
Absolutely.
Your children's mother or father.
Right.
I don't care what they've done.
Agree.
I don't care what it is. That is between you and that spouse or ex-spouse. The children should not be a part of any of that.
Right.
And that is still their mother. That is still their father.
Absolutely.
And you let them bond their relationship. And children, when it's their time for them to know what's really revealed to them, they already know.
They already know.
So
They're
you
gonna
don't
know.
have to say
Right.
he or she is no good. He or she not spending money. He or she. You don't even have to say any of that.
Right.
That is their relationship, and it is
Absolutely.
completely separate from yours.
Absolutely.
The only thing you should say is that is your mother or your father, and they love you, and that's it.
And respect them.
And
You
they
owe them respect.
and you respect them,
Absolutely.
and that's it.
I agree, and they saying amen, Kelly. Latoya says amen, Kelly. Keisha is saying yes, Miss Kelly. That's true. Grady's saying, when it's over,
that Grady,
it's
baby?
over. DJ,
It's like Grady. Who that is?
who that is?
DJ
That's
Grady,
just that
baby.
That's just that Grady baby.
I'm
That's
sorry.
just that Grady baby. That's just that Grady baby. We miss you, DJ Grady baby. But you're absolutely right. There is no reason. And it's funny because my mother raised me that same way. There are things that my mother has opened up and revealed to me because I'm grown now. I'm 50 years old. I ain't 50 yet. But she knows that I'm old enough, me and my sister are old enough and mature enough to be able to hear some of the things. And we ask her a lot of questions now. Like when you're kids, you just sort of perceive things to be the way your mind allows you to perceive them to the extent in which your mind will allow you to perceive them. And that's your reality. Well, my mother never, ever, 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 said anything adversely against our father or, because, and she will be the first one to tell you, he may not have been the best husband in the world, but he was certainly the best father
That's right.
in the world.
That's right.
And he loved his kids, and he was always there for us, always readily available. And she never, ever, ever, ever told us anything negative about our father. There are things that we've gotten grown and asked, like, Mom, why did this happen? Why did you do this? Or why did you? And she's been able to tell us the story, but she always told us, I just don't believe in bashing your father.
That's
because
right.
you still owe him a measure of respect, dignity, and respect, and he has
Absolutely.
always been a good father. And so I've always felt that same way. It didn't matter what I went, and maybe that's why I waited so long to write my book. My book wasn't released until both my girls were grown. I didn't have it planned that way because I didn't even know I was going to write a book, but they were both grown and able to be able to absorb and, sort of take in some of the information that they read in my book, and it didn't in any way adversely affect their opinion of their father. But even after I divorced their father, the court said, you can have visitation. They told my ex-husband, you can have visitation every other weekend, yada, yada, yada. I never held him to those standards. I said, whenever you want your girls, you can get them. Whatever makes it easier for you and the girls through this divorce, I'm willing to do that. So every day he would still pick the girls up, still take them to their respective sports practices or whatever, because I wasn't going to let a court tell me
Absolutely.
how to run my family and how to parent my children. And so I just wanted to make it as easy for them as I possibly could. But for us, it was time to go. It was over. So I say all that to say, unfortunately, things don't always work out. Relationships don't always work out. What I've resolved and what relationships are hard.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no question.
They are.
Relationships are hard.
There's some
People.
that's worth saving, and there's some that's not. That's all. There's some that's worth saving, and there's some that's not.
There's some that are worth saving, and there's some
that's not.
that
And
are
that's okay if
absolutely
you
not.
don't, and you keep it moving. But you will be happy at the end, whether it's with
Absolutely.
yourself or with someone else.
Absolutely. So guys, we're going to go ahead and end this podcast. There are still comments that are coming in. We will try to respond to each and every one of your comments because you're important to us. You matter. You are certainly relevant. You can, if you don't have a Facebook account and you want to read the comments, or if you want to hear the podcast, you can go on djgradybaby.com and see the podcast. This was just something that we did impromptu, and I think that these make for the best podcasts.
Oh.
The impromptu, the ones that are not planned.
Right, exactly.
They're very organic, and they just come from our hearts. And so we will try to respond to each and every one of your comments. Thank you so much for following us. I would ask that, if you know someone who could benefit from this podcast or the information that you've heard from me and my girls tonight, certainly share it. Share the podcast with everyone you know. Stay safe. Continue to socially distance yourselves. I'm around my girls tonight, but we are all socially distancing ourselves from others. So just stay safe. Stay encouraged. We're about 3 feet from each other.
We're 3 feet apart.
We're 3 feet apart. But stay safe. Stay encouraged during this time. And just know that I love you and that I wish all of you guys the best. Stay tuned for more of the Tisa Batey Show coming up. And we love you guys. And we're going to go ahead and sign off at this time. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing.